Welcome to Quark's Bar, everyone. All sales are final. We do not offer refunds. Keep your hands off my Dabo girls. And if Morn is here, buy him a drink. We do not offer refunds. All right, everyone. It is great to see everybody. And I forgot to mute my damn other computer again. I gotta learn to do that. Oh, God. We are here, Quark's Bar. We are talking Star Trek Lower Decks. God help us. Oh, God help us with this one. with
Right.
me is the, yeah, with me is the excellent, the awesome, the man I have seen make people cry on Twitter, and he mops the floors with their tears. Jack Beers.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here.
I'm here. So, Jack, yeah, I actually finally did something
Oh,
today.
here's
Oh,
Lorraine again.
hello. How are you? Hello.
She wanted
Can
to
I
say
get some
hi.
of that? Can I get some of that?
Oh, he's like, can I get some of that? The weed.
Oh, so good. So good. I might actually have to grab my vape for this one. I might actually have to grab my pot for this one. Oh
hmm
my God. This, yeah, I don't know. You know what, Jack? I'm going to let you start off with this because I know you have a lot to say about it. And I know you said we might go a little longer, and that's fine. But go ahead, get your thoughts out because, dude, I got my little list here.
hmm Yeah, I have
So
my own list. Actually, I had a list from. Okay, so earlier this week, I got to speak with Lore Reloaded, and so I had written a list of grievances about Lower Decks for him. Of course, we didn't get to we only got to like a portion of it, so I still have a lot of that list left. But one of the things I really hate is I'm not like how are you like I get it, it's supposed to be a comedy show, but how are you supposed to take this seriously within canon, within Star Trek canon? um Earlier, what I was telling you earlier is, Star Trek is a science fiction, right?
yes,
So how does a science fiction work when you have dogs that talk and fly, you have badges that go crazy and kill people, the universe is on a koala or something like that, or is a koala on the back of, I don't know. Like, how are you supposed to take that seriously in canon with with the rest of the Star Trek universe?
I don't know. Actually,
Yeah.
Jack, I actually figured this out. I was looking at it. Let me pull this up real quick. So I didn't realize LDS takes place in 2380. So basically, it takes place 7 years before Romulus explodes,
hmm
19 years before Picard, and basically 1 year after, right around 1 year after Nemesis. Take your
hmm
pick on the timeline. So Picard is still in charge of the Enterprise E. Troy and Riker are on the Titan.
hmm
Uh, and I'm kind of like, what the hell am I watching here? What is this shit? Yeah, I just I. And by the way, I got one key thing I want to point out. That
hmm
freaking doctor makes the
Yes.
holograph doctor from Voyager look like a freaking saint for how much she just doesn't seem to give a fuck about being a doctor.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, like that character, like, it tripped me out. Like, there was a missed opportunity with the Katian, because the cat lady was in the same room as the dog, and there was no, like, they could have done some sort of weird, you know, like, cat and mouse thing or something with it, or something, like,
Yeah,
have the
that would have been
dog
funny.
have the dog bark at the cat lady, something. They didn't even they missed out on that. They missed
Oh,
that
I didn't
opportunity.
even. Oh man, I didn't even think about that. That would have been funny. That would have
And
actually have been funny. I might have actually have laughed during this episode.
and I didn't understand why it had to be a dog, especially an Earth dog. Do they not have pets in Orion? Like, do they not have their own pets? like different types of. I figured they would have like a version of a dog or something like that, a cat.
Yeah,
I don't know.
something like that. I don't know. I think she made some kind of half-ass comment about that, but I could
She
be complete.
in the end you learn that she didn't really know what a dog was, like what they did or anything. That's why that dog could do all sorts of stuff. It's
Yeah.
because she didn't know any better. It was still dumb.
So
Um,
she gene splices a dog. I mean, this is how we start out. We're gene splicing a dog,
mhm,
and she didn't do any research on what a dog was.
basically, yeah. And so
Okay.
this dog, this dog, it can turn its head inside out and its eyes turn into bats or something like that, and they fly away, um, like a cartoon. You know what I mean? And I get it. It is a cartoon, but it's supposed to be within a realistic universe, and they're not even trying anymore. Basically,
I want to know this. What was up with the visiting captain thing? I'm like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. You have a command staff. Yes, your three top leaders are going on some secret mission, whatever the case. And what was it? Memberberry, they were in those black suits, kind of like we saw
yeah,
in TNG.
yeah.
And I'm just like, don't you have other people in your command staff, or is this ship just that undermanned, or are they just all that incompetent? I'm going with the latter and saying they're incompetent.
Yeah, I agree. It confused me at first because the lady, her friend was a captain, but
Yeah.
apparently they were in Starfleet Academy together.
I'm
So
glad you bring that up.
Mariner is actually older than I thought she was. Apparently, she's been in Starfleet long enough to be a captain, to become a captain if she wanted to. Whereas Boimler is like a first year cadet or something like that. Like
Yeah,
he's been
I'm
like
gonna I'm
maybe a
gonna
couple
turn off my
years.
camera here, buddy, real quick because I can see
Okay,
the brightness and it's just driving me nuts. But
okay.
anyway,
I
I'm gonna
like I
stay
like the
with this.
Batman logo.
Yeah.
The Batman
Oh,
logo is
dude,
cool.
I so let's go on this timeline here. Let's put it on this timeline here. Let's say this captain was just stellar and was fast tracked. Okay,
Right,
we can okay, I can get behind that. So let's say she was at least realistically 10 to 15 years in.
right.
We can
Okay, yeah,
lowball it and say, yeah, we can lowball and say 10 years, but realistically, probably 15. So Mariner's been in at least 10 to 15 years.
right. So yeah, long enough to where she could have theoretically become a captain if she wasn't, who she was. So, uh, so that's weird. That's kind of weird for me because that's an older woman, like picking on the younger man. Like who doesn't have that type of experience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she did. I do remember she also said that she's been on 5 ships, I think. So
Yes.
that makes sense. That would make sense then.
So you think maybe if she even spent, let's say she just spent 3 years on each ship, that's about 15 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Uh,
I mean,
so,
long enough to where she'd screw up and get transferred.
oh, yeah, exactly. And it's just, yeah, that's exactly my thing. You thought maybe she'd been in 5, 6 years. She's been
That's what I
demoted. We
thought.
know. Yeah, we know
I
she,
thought she was the same age as Boimler. I thought they were the same age, or at least peers. But
yeah,
she's not a she's they're actually not peers.
no, they're not. And, no, they're obviously not. And, she's definitely not the person I think that's going to get Boimler to a captaincy, but we'll get into Boimler later. I got to be honest, about the only character I'm even liking is Rutherford.
Right. I like his character. Like he seems like a Starfleet person. He actually seems like someone who could make it in Starfleet because he's not afraid to try new things. Like he loves to work. He works hard. He knows what he's doing, at least in that aspect. He's not annoying like Mariner is. Boimler is sometimes even Boimler is a bit annoying. He can be
Yes.
annoying, but um, yeah, Rutherford seems like the only one who really isn't that annoying. Tendi wasn't annoying until that one episode with the Ascension.
Yes.
Before that I was starting to like her, and then after that I was like, okay, like she's like that. Okay, never mind.
Have you noticed this? Other than the one Tellarite captain, I guess
Mhm.
Starfleet got rid of all their male captains.
It seems like it. Yeah, it seems like that. Um, like that. Yeah, all their well, I was going to say all their admirals, but the father,
Yeah.
Mariner's father is an admiral, so that's not right. But most of them, yeah, also in the Picard universe too. All the higher ups were females, and they were like bad, which makes females look bad.
Well,
Because before, like when it was run by like male female back in the 90s at least, Starfleet wasn't the bad guy. They might have been an adversary. They might have they might be doing something you don't agree with, but they weren't like bad people with like nefarious goals and stuff like that. Their goals were actually pretty honorable. This Star Trek is doing its best to make the Federation look bad.
yes.
Yeah, they're doing it, and they also have no idea about how a military like organization works. And yes, I argued with someone earlier this week. Yes, they're scientific vessels. It's a scientific mission. It's discovery and stuff, but they're still organized as a military. In fact, Gene Roddenberry was an Army vet in World War II, and that's kind of where he got the idea of that structure. Except he structured it under a Navy command, like type chain of command with like a captain and admiral and stuff like that, instead of an army with a general and admiral. So, so that's one of the things that this Trek is completely left out. You got Pike, who says, don't do this, Michael Burnham. That's an order. And Michael Burnham's like, well, I'm going to do it anyways. And then Pike is like, okay. Or he's like, that darn Burn, like, I don't know. Like a real captain wouldn't take that. A real captain wouldn't take that. He'd be like, don't do that. That's an order. And if she talks back, I'd be like, you know what? Get your ass in the brig.
Well, that's the thing too. They're making these women on the show, and that's even the worst part. They're making them look like idiots. They're making them look incompetent.
Yes.
Let's take, for
Yes.
example, you have let's go over the captain's list here. We have
Yes.
the captain of the fucking ship. I can't remember the damn name of it now. The Cerritos.
The
There you
trio.
go.
I call it the Cheerios,
Yeah, the Cheerios.
but yeah, it's the
We
Cerritos.
She is not a very good captain.
No, she's not.
No,
The
she's
the
not.
idea
I
that
mean,
she would make her daughter do the worst jobs just because she wants her to transfer to another ship is not only is that bad captaining, but that's bad parenting.
that's petty. That is the pettiest thing. And then we had that captain who came in on the one I said when we were talking about it a few
Her
episodes
friend.
back, where I was like, "Oh, great, we're having a pissing contest between who's got
Oh,
the bigger dick." Ship.
right. Oh yeah. So yeah,
And then
that was dumb. And then from that she made like that was the what did they call it? The buffer time one, right?
Oh yeah.
Where they got rid of it, and then like everybody got all stressed out and shit, and then there was like an alien invasion of the ship, and they were too like busy on their orders to fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of crap was it? And then you had this captain of what was it, the Rasmi, anyway, whatever, it's irrelevant. And she was just like, I don't want to die in space, I don't want to like, is this your first freaking week in Starfleet?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna point this out. Notice she was white.
Yeah. I noticed that too. yeah, it's really, I don't know, it sucks. It's and I had some other stuff too.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Like, okay, so one of the thing, like, I think I mentioned this last week. They treat member berries as a comedic punchline. They think
Yes,
that
they do.
just mentioning like Chief O'Brien is a punchline. Like, we're supposed to laugh at that. Whereas, like, it's if anything, the member berries, they should be used, definitely should be used, but like to show that you're in the same universe, not necessarily to get people to be like, oh, this, I remember this.
They need to be relevant to the story, like when we had in
Yes.
TNG, where we had that episode where they had a similar thing about people taking a shower and
Hmm.
freezing in the shower, and that actually had relevance to what they were talking about.
Hmm.
In this show, they just keep dropping member berries like it's fucking candy.
Yeah, and so that becomes a problem when you overdo it. They're definitely overdoing it.
Oh, you mean
um,
you mean the Captain Pike chairs? I'm
no,
like,
not
where
even.
that was
Yeah, like,
horrible. I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me they're still using the same technology they used 100 years ago?
exactly. And that's another thing is I keep telling people, every episode, like just about every other episode, I see a different person with a Geordie visor on.
Yeah,
And here's the thing: by the time of TNG, the visor was already kind of being
phased
circulated
out.
out, phased out, because by then Beverly was mentioned that there were other options. You can have
No, no,
surgery,
no. That was no.
or you can
Actually, I'm
have.
going to correct you there. That was Pulaski.
Okay, Pulowski. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
Pulaski
either.
said, and he said it was because the reason why he hadn't gotten clone implants because at the time the way he used his sensory was, I guess, different, which genetically would make sense. Some people are going
Mhm.
to obviously, their senses are going to be different. So that's why he's never gotten the clone implants and he doesn't get them until first contact.
Right, and then his other option was, like, it was his other option was to have the bionic eyes,
Yes.
which I think he said no to because he wouldn't be able to see as well as he does with the visor. He said something like that. So he preferred the visor. That's why he wore it. Um, but uh, you know, like, it was like he stopped wearing it after Generations,
Yes,
and
but
by then he would have been one of the last people wearing it by then. And
well,
so when I see like
no, you're good.
20
Go ahead.
years after so when I see like 20 years after TNG, like, people are still sporting the visors, it's like, and then it's a different person every time. So how many people on the ship have visors? It's weird. And then,
No,
of
but I
course,
mean,
with the Pike chair as well, complete that would have been phased out long ago.
well, think about this. So Jordy at the time when TNG started, say when we get to the point about Pulaski and everything,
Hmm.
he mentions this and he decides not to go through with it. Well, technology probably over the span of those years had progressed
Oh
in
yeah,
that department, so he decides to go through with it. Now that makes
right.
sense. That's understandable.
Well, he
And
also
you're right, he
also
probably was one of the last people because he
also
was
the other thing
probably
was, in Generations, he was kidnapped by the Duras sisters and they hacked his visor, and that's how they were
yes.
able to destroy the Enterprise. So I believe I'm sure, like, he found out after, like, the inquiry or investigation that his visor was the reason behind it, and he probably chose after that to get rid of it after that, because it was a liability at that point.
It wasn't the first time it was a liability either, because we got to
True.
remember when he was kidnapped on his way to Risa. So maybe at this
Yes.
point he was
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, yeah. So maybe at this point where they tried to turn him into an assassin.
And
So
then
yeah,
and then
that
of
makes
course
sense.
and of course every time, it was very easy to cripple him, basically. Cripple Geordi. If you wanted him vulnerable, you just take off his visor and he can't see anything. So you know what I mean. That's what they did in the Descent episodes. where
Yeah.
the where he and Lore and the Borg joined up and everything. He removed his visor to make sure that he wasn't seeing the
The spectrum.
stuff emitting, the spectrum emitting, and B, to put him in a vulnerable spot.
Exactly. But
Yeah,
he at least had enough sense to try and work around it. I mean, that episode where he was down there with that Romulan Centurion, and
I thought
he's
that was a
like,
really good episode.
"Yes, that was a great episode." And but okay, you know where the show really lost me this episode? When I saw
Mm,
the dog walk by and it turned into a freaking cube. And I'm just like, "Oh my God." I'm
that
like,
was
"Are you
dumb.
freaking
That
I'm
was
like,
so
"Are you
dumb.
freaking kidding me?" I'm like,
That's part of the second thing I think that they think is funny. That's not. They also treat chaos as comedy, and you can make chaos comedic if you do it right, but they're not. They're like the whole show is chaos, and so like if the whole show is like that, it's not really I don't know. It like there's nothing really sticks out as funny because it's all chaotic. The other thing that they think is funny is they think incompetence and rewarding incompetence is funny. I've noticed that.
Yes, I would agree. Also, transition here from the dog to Boromir is a straight up ass kisser. I mean, he
Yeah,
flat out says he's an ass kisser. You might as well just pull down your pants and let him lick your
yeah.
backside.
I don't get him. Like he tries, like his character tries too hard to, almost like Tendi tries too hard to be liked. I
Hmm.
think, but just in a different way. Tendi, like I don't know, like she has an issue. Like somebody has a problem with her, she gets like really stupid about it because she wants everybody to like her.
I'm still trying to figure her out because, as far as I knew, I thought most people liked female Orions because of their pheromones. Oh wait,
Well,
that
yeah,
was Enterprise.
yeah. I mean, they don't follow. These guys don't follow canon and all. I mean, of course, you're gonna like the Orion. Um, until she gets all like, you know, please like me. Like one of the things I wanted to also mention is like the other disrespect that they have for the past. Uh, like there's the one episode with the censors.
Yeah,
They make fun of the censor thing because Worf and Tuvok used to say it like that, I guess. Uh, and instead of like just letting it go, like that's a thing in Star Trek. People say censors. They try to make a joke about that. They the sarcastic Vulcan salute thing that they do is actually pretty disrespectful in a certain way because when Leonard Nimoy adopted that Vulcan salute, he took it from his Jewish tradition.
yes, I do know that.
Yeah, he borrowed that from his Jewish tradition. So, I mean, I get it. It's not like a anti-Semitic thing. It's not an anti-Jew thing or anything like that. It's just when you think of it like that, like how respectful that Nimoy, the respect that Nimoy put into not only creating Spock but creating what Vulcans were. And then come 50 years later, we're using this ironic Vulcan salute now because it's I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've been trying to figure. And then I can't figure out this doctor. This doctor was just ridiculous. Like, oh, go to Division 14. I ain't got time for this. Or like, I'm not gonna do
That,
that. I'm not even gonna try.
that was weird because that's also something that's never been in Star Trek before where like, oh, like we can't solve this problem here. You have to go to like a special hospital land or whatever. No, like just about every time just about every time there was a medical issue, they solved it there with their doctors. Whether it was Bashir, whether it was Beverly or Pulowski, whether it was McCoy, whether it was the holographic doctor, um, you know,
Flux.
Phlox. It was always in house, and they were always able to find to figure it out for themselves. You know, Phlox was able to find a cure for the Klingon augment virus that
Mm-hmm.
turned everyone's head smooth. And then Discovery comes over and runs those episodes over with their freaking like orc like Klingons at a time when they're supposed to have smooth heads. It's so ridiculous. I like I I know like we're talking about mainly the episode, but it's just like I think I've just figured out the entire new Trek stuff. Like it's just really it's people who don't understand what they're messing with and thinking that they can just do whatever they want with it, when honestly when they do that, all they're doing is disrespecting their past.
And then they wonder why we're pissed off about it and why we're calling it out. I
Yeah.
mean, you got a doctor who passes the buck, and then Mariner is talking with that temporary captain, and they're like, "So have you seen so and so's proton torpedo?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh yeah.
You're talking about a dick
Yeah. Yeah.
in Star Trek?"
And they call them photon torpedoes. Like seriously, come on.
Have you seen his photon? No. Yeah. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah. She acts disgusted when like 4 episodes before she was like, "Oh, that's kind of hot."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she makes the captain. Then she's like, "Hey, would you be my first officer? You're a captain of
You're
a
a captain.
starship,
Yeah.
and you're making someone who went to the academy with you,
Only because she was her friend.
has been demoted, and you're like, oh, I want you to be my first one." You know what? This whole episode could have been like, all she had to say was, "No, that's not my thing. I'm totally fine being that." But no, she goes and does it, and then she acts like a total fuck up, even worse than she already is intentionally.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the other thing is the Vulcan on there. I actually didn't mind the Vulcan that was there.
I didn't either.
You know, like at one point she tells her captain, like, you know, I don't think your first officer is as you remember. And I was like, of course she's not. She's basically Michael Burnham. But the other thing was they made a reference about the Borg. Like they had the Borg, and then the Vulcan beat them all up single-handedly with her Vulcan jujitsu.
Yeah, I think that's what they said, Vulcan Jiu-Jitsu, not the Vulcan martial art that we, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but
I think it's Suzmana or something. Suzmana, something like that. But that's an actual Vulcan martial arts that they could have turned it into a member berry, but they didn't do enough research, I believe.
Yeah, they did not. Oh, and the number one name drop. Oh God, I was like, I was like, another member berry. I was like, don't just drop this member berry.
That one I didn't mind too much because that's what captains do call their commanders a lot of times. It wasn't just Picard and Riker. I know Pike did that with number one.
Yes.
The first number one, and stuff like that. And I think they do they do it in another show?
No, I think they only did it in just The Cage and
TNG. Okay,
yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
I mean, I could understand that, but it just seemed like such another one of their freaking drops. It's kind of like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I don't know. I don't mind them doing it, but they just overdo it a lot. Yeah, I've already explained that, like, Mariner's just a troublemaker. She's a troublemaker. Like, she puts herself into these situations, makes it worse, and then somehow fixes it like a Mary Sue would.
And then everybody's like, oh, she's the bestest ever. And you're kind of like, no, she sucks. She causes more problems. She has to solve the problems she causes.
Yes. Yes. yeah, so like it's one thing to do the constant member berries and stuff like that. It's another thing to get some of them wrong. You know,
Yes.
like when they got the Vulcan Jiu-Jitsu wrong, they got the they got the Jamaharan wrong. You know,
They
because
got
Boimler didn't
the
have the
Romulan
Horgon.
ale wrong.
They got Romulan. It was Romulan whiskey, I guess now. You know, when they could have used Calfal.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Funny you
yeah,
mentioned my favorite episode.
if you like, oh, that is a great episode. That was a wonderful
That's actually the
episode.
reason why. That's the reason I was watching Who Shot Liberty Valance, because actually one of the references in part of Cisco's speech is actually taken from the idea of the man who shot Liberty Valance.
Okay. Huh.
And I thought that was cool. So I checked it out. It was on Prime, and I was like, I grabbed my dad and I said, "Hey, you want to watch this movie?" And he goes, "I love that movie." I'm like, "Well, I've never seen it. I'm gonna finish it up. I got about 25 minutes left on
Mm-hmm.
it." Uh, Now, I will say this. I will say one nice thing about this show that I did like in this episode. I did like the callback to the TAS.
That was fine. Yeah, I didn't mind that too much. Um, I mean, there's aspects of the show that I don't mind that I actually think are good. The aesthetic I think is fine, whereas like Discovery and Picard's aesthetic sucked. Um,
Yes.
you know, the writing still sucks, but they suck for different reasons. Where like in Picard and Discovery, they try to write for they they're unintelligent people writing for intelligent characters, and it shows.
And they're trying to
Whereas,
appeal and they're trying to appeal to intellectuals like us who grew up on a show that was intellectual.
right,
We learned from this show. We got actually smarter from the show. I
right,
probably dropped about 10 IQ points at this point.
right, and so and then whereas Lower Decks, it's unintelligent people writing for unintelligent characters, and so it's a little easier, I think, story wise, for them to to come up with stories, but they're not good stories that they're coming up with. I mean, the dog plot was completely wasted in this episode. The dog plot, like, what do you do? What did she do? She created the dog. She brought the dog to the place. She learned that the dog was a freak and belonged there, and that was it. Like it was happily ever after that.
Okay, by the way, who
And,
the hell
and the
says
dog
freak in the 20 Who the
and the
hell
dog
says
flew
freak in the
away.
24th century?
The dog flew away
Yeah.
like a reindeer, like a flying reindeer. Like, and it was the stupidest thing, dude. It was the stupidest thing. Take off. Right.
I will say this. I did like the fact that Mariner got some dressing downs about how incompetent she was. Now, granted, she is
She
saying
was
she's
faking.
screwing up. Yeah, she's faking it,
Yeah.
but, it was finally nice for someone to realize, well, that's even worse. She was faking being a screw up. She puts everybody's life at risk when she's like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
forgot the tricorders. You could have got
Yeah.
everybody killed, you dumb bitch.
Mm-hmm. Same thing when she's supposed to turn on sensors and she turns on red alert.
Oh, yeah, that was so stupid.
Like, how do you accidentally turn on red alert? Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure red alert is like a big red button that says red alert or something like that you press on, and it automatically does whatever you need to do, whatever it does. I don't think
I'm pretty sure red alert.
I don't think it's
go
like
ahead.
I don't think it would just be any other button. Is my point.
And I cannot be 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure when red alert is called, it's the tactical officer who pushes that button.
Right.
Call me crazy, but it just
I think
seems
so.
like the right, because that seems like the person you would say do that. Push that button.
No, that makes sense. Either that or like the first officer. Yeah, makes sense.
Oh God, yeah, I don't understand. And then when we get to the point where she's like, "Well, why don't you stop being a fuck up?" And she's sitting arguing with the captain. She's like, "Wait a minute, you were the best person in our academy. You kept us all on our toes. So I'm sure there's some tragic backstory that's going to explain why she's such a
And
piece
they're
of
gonna wait.
shit."
They're gonna wait for. Yeah, no, there is a story. I mean, like there's a story they haven't told yet. Is the story of how she got busted down and sent to the Cerritos. That's the story they haven't told yet, and that's probably saving that for the season finale. I'm assuming.
Yeah, that would probably make sense. But I'm just sitting here watching this lady. I'm like, this is so disrespectful to what strong women are. This makes her look like she just doesn't give a shit about her job. It's like, oh, well, she's
You know,
good at her
and
job.
you know what I don't see her do? I don't see her struggle much. I think strong women are, they struggle a lot. Just like strong men would. They go through,
Yes.
they go through things. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they fail. Um, you know what I mean? Like, when they fail, they learn from it, they get better from it. Iron Man. I know, like, this is every time, like, he made a mistake or like he got shot down, or remember when he went to space and he iced up and then he fixed that
Yes.
icing problem. And then during the Avengers, he went back into space. He didn't ice up, but, he ran out of air. And so, you know, by Infinity War, he's got a complete oxygen setup in there and everything. So he could go into space. He always improved every time something messed up. And that's something that I don't see of Mariner. I don't see that of Michael Burnham. Um, I don't see that from Seven of this version of Seven of Nine. Um, I don't see that in these strong women. These strong women do not struggle. You know what I mean?
No, they don't. And then we had that, and then on top of that, we had that B plot. Okay, so let's get over with the A plot here.
Okay.
They go over to find this captain, this ship that is. It's like, oh, get a picture of me saving their ass again. I'm thinking, wow, you're a bitch.
Yeah, I was about to assume that they were, like, she's. I assumed that she said that because everybody was going to be dead or something, but they didn't even go through follow that line. So
No, they show up. They go on, and everybody's hiding in a corridor somewhere. Nobody bothered to, I don't know, transport out, go to the escape pods, go to the shuttlecrafts.
right,
You
no,
know,
yeah,
they're all just hiding. It's like, no, 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 don't turn on the power, don't turn on the power. I don't want to die. I was like, and they made her a white chick. Why did that not surprise me? Because I'm sorry, I'm gonna call it out. This is an SJW, like, uh, they're making white people look stupid. I mean, Boromir is a perfect example.
yeah, yeah. And he's always the butt of the joke most of the time. It's always him being the butt of the joke. It was the one episode where they went to that concert together. Like, I don't see why Boimler would want to go anywhere with Mariner.
No.
I don't see why. I mean, like, like like she, and then on top of that, to learn that she's actually a much older woman than I thought. I thought she was like up here, and she's not. So this older woman is taking this younger guy out to a concert. I don't know. It's a little weird.
Yeah, I would agree it's weird because, like I said, you're right about that. That brings up the whole point. How long has she been in Starfleet? Like I said, we can fast track, say, um, this captain. Say she's been in Starfleet 10 years. Let's just put it that way. Let's say 10 to 15 years. That would be the reasonable amount of time to fast track someone to a captain seat. And
Unless you're in the JJ verse.
nah, I wasn't
Remember how
going there.
fast Kirk became captain?
Yeah, I wasn't
That was
going
funny.
there, but I know what you're talking about. I wasn't going to go there. But yeah, I mean, she's just and then her friend who we're guessing she's like, I didn't even know you were a captain, which means she's been a captain for a while. They haven't talked much, and she's like, oh, I'm going to offer you the first officer position. I'm thinking, okay, that was not one of your lieutenants you brought over,
Nope.
not your lieutenant commander. You're going to put this person who's been demoted, which you had to have known she's been demoted, as your first officer.
Oh yeah, the Vulcan pointed it out, like, oh, but she's still an ensign, you know.
Well, that's what I liked about that Vulcan. She was actually the only one who would ever actually had the, fortitude to say, you know what, from an outside perspective, not like Boromir, point out,
Right.
you're a fuck up. You're a fuck up.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And she just keeps explaining it away. Like she keeps making excuses why she's such a fuck up. And when the captain finally says, I don't even think you want to be in Starfleet, I'm like, well, no shit. We've all
Exactly.
been saying that.
Yes. By the way, a little off. Well, it's still on subject. When did they get rid of the lieutenant junior rank?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Because when the two times I've seen people promoted, they've been promoted straight from ensign to lieutenant, when there's supposed to be a lieutenant junior grade in between that.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Maybe because the black wouldn't have, I don't know, maybe because the black pip wouldn't have come up on the animation, but I could be wrong.
I think they could have made that work.
Oh, I'm sure they could have, but we are talking about lazy writers and lazy animation.
True. and once again, like that was one of those episodes where if you pause it at the right moments, like all of a sudden people have like 18 fingers and like a hole in their side or something like that. The animation is, I don't know, like I know that classic cartoons have done that before, but I feel like in this generation it's much more noticeable with the HD TVs that everybody has now. It's much more noticeable, and so to have that same, like you have to up the quality. I think if you're gonna do the animation like that, you got to up the quality a little bit.
I would agree.
How I feel.
And then we get to she punches out the captain. Okay, did nobody bring a hypo spray?
Apparently, they forgot what hypo sprays were, because that was a very convenient way of knocking people out back in the the TNG era. And I don't know why they haven't used that yet. I think because punching people is funnier in their heads. Chaos. It's chaos, so chaos is funny.
Yeah, but I mean, she punches out the captain, and then, of course, the captain later, they're sitting there, and we find out, the ship has been taken over by some entity, which resembles all the way back at Encounter at Farpoint. We all saw that. We all knew
it resembles that. But see, now if it was that creature, if it was actually that creature, then they completely did that wrong, because because that creature didn't feed off of electricity. It could create matter. This creature could create matter, and that's something you didn't see. It didn't create any matter. It just tore a ship apart. That's all it did.
And then they're like, well, we don't know its intentions. We think it was peaceful. It's like, it just took out an entire Federation starship. And you're going to say this is peaceful.
Because they wanted...
Okay, that's like the peaceful protests I see with a news article where it's like, oh, it's mostly a peaceful protest. Dude, there's a freaking building on fire right behind you.
Well, yeah, but that's just the weirdest thing that they would just do this stuff. It seems like they just don't care about quality. They don't care about respect. Maybe they think the member berries are a form of respect. They're not. Not when they do them. Not when you're doing them wrong. Not when you're messing up the references. Not when you overdo them. Yeah, you know, like not when it's inconsistent. Where you know, like when you have a zombie outbreak, all of a sudden you're pulling phasers out seemingly out of nowhere in the lunch counter. But then when these aliens come and invade your ship and graffiti all over the place, nobody has phasers but Boimler. You know, and then everybody's got to, you know, somehow fight the aliens with tripwires and pad smashing and stuff like that. It's just so inconsistent with the show. And it's inconsistent with science fiction. Badgie is inconsistent with science fiction. Even though Badgie is a program, you know, one of the things I asked Lore was, you know, if he thought that Rutherford programmed Badgie to be that way, because that's really the only way something that you program would act that way, is if you programmed it to act that way. You know, no malfunction is going to make it, you know, turn like something into a killer. No, if anything, it's just going to fuck up the program, make it freeze more or something.
Good. Yeah, exactly. The program's going to get corrupted. And, you know, being an IT guy, I'm not a programmer, but I do know if you screw up the code, the thing becomes corrupted. Now,
Yeah,
whereas
it doesn't turn into a murderer.
No, it doesn't. And that made no sense. Yeah, that made no sense. But neither did the fact that the Orion chick, she's gene splicing a dog. I thought gene splicing was illegal in the Federation.
I think it is. I think it. You know, I didn't even think about that. I'd have to look back, but I think it probably is because, you know, because they didn't have designer. You know, like, you know, the idea of designer babies is like you can have, you know, you can choose, you know, the color of your baby's eyes, the color of your baby's hair, the gender, you know, how much it's going to weigh. You can choose, you know, like what diseases are it's susceptible to. You can program all of that into a person, and it doesn't seem like they did that in the Star Trek verse, because Dr. Bashir was genetically altered, and he almost lost his job in Starfleet when they found out about that. It wasn't his fault.
It took his father going to prison to, you know, be like, I'm going to prison. And it's
Right.
like, you know, they told him, you know, I mean, so I don't know if augmenting a fake, and I'm trying to figure out how
maybe I think it's probably the genetic thing. Like, you know, like if it's something like a visor, they'll, you know, like if you're blind, they'll just put a visor on you or just give you bionic eyes.
Maybe. I don't know. It just seemed to make no sense to me when I was looking at that. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why did she create a dog? And why, if she was going to create a dog, did she not do research on the dog? I mean, she acts like she's intelligent. She's obviously smart.
There was another dog on the ship that they show at the end. She could have studied that dog.
And then
the dog licks her, and she's like, "Eh, lick me! How fucking gross!"
That's the other thing I'm so sick of, is the F-bombs.
Yeah, you know, it's a little. I think it's a little easier to digest in this one because they bleep them out, but they still pull me out. They still pull me out of the story. Every time somebody said shit or fuck on Picard or Discovery, it pulled me out of the story. This one, not so much, because it's bleeped, and I think because it's animated bleep. I'm used to that with South Park.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe, I don't know.
It's just it takes me out because it's like, this is not Star Trek. Okay, I get the one time it worked, and that was when Data said it, but Data had just recently gotten a motion chip, so
yeah,
it
was appropriate for that moment.
Yes, but
and
now
plus,
they just
the ship was going down, and he was about to crash into a planet. I would have said something like that, you know. It's relatable.
Exactly. Yeah, it was relatable. But these other times they keep doing this stuff, and it just doesn't work. And then we haven't even gotten to the B side of the story with Boromir. I'm thinking, why is this ensign Rutherford doing this very complex experiment? And then why wasn't he chastised for actually screwing up?
I don't know. I don't know the reason why they did that. I kept making fun of it. Like I kept calling him a Force Ghost.
Force Ghost, I remember.
Yeah, yeah. I kept calling him Force Ghost. It was funny. Like Laura was like, "You don't really believe that, do you?" I was like, "No, no, I'm just joking." They're like, half of my tweets are just like, I exaggerate. But like, it did remind me of a Force Ghost when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's blue. He's glowy. He's blue. And then at the end, everyone becomes a Force Ghost.
Well, and then to top it all off, he goes right up to the bridge, not the sick bay where he should go. He goes straight up to the bridge, and then he's like, puts his head down. He's like, I gotta go to sick bay. It's like, give me a break, dude. You're freaking glowing like a Force Ghost, for God's
And
sakes.
and you were making this weird noise too. Yeah, like there was that weird annoying noise. So yeah,
It was horrible. And then they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna take you to Division 14. He's like, the Temporal Police? It's like, no, Division 14, they deal with all these weird unknown things. I'm like, I thought
that
this was
that's
Starfleet.
that's something that they just pulled out of their ass. The writers just pulled that out of their ass.
Oh
That
yeah.
that yeah. There's no Section 14 or whatever.
And then they get on the yeah, and then
Okay.
but I'm still trying to figure out why the dog got sent on there. It never explained why the dog was there.
I don't know either. They just somebody said the dog was going too, and Tendi was like, "Oh no, I won't let them hurt you." I don't know. That whole plot was wasted with the dog. That whole plot. They could have actually done something decent with the dog stuff. As long as they didn't make him talk and fly, and it could have been an interesting story, but no, it was wasted.
Yeah.
Just like the Badgie thing, that whole
Yeah.
thing was wasted. The beginning of that simulation where they started, where they were when they were spacewalking and then they get stuck together. I thought that was fine. I thought that was actually nice. And then they had Badgie go crazy, and it was dumb.
Yeah, and then we're sitting there, watching Boromir and them get on this thing, and then they go, and it's all dark and gloomy. I'm like, right, I walked right back into Discovery and Picard again.
Yep,
And
that's what it reminded me of is Discovery.
And I'm like, okay. I was like, this was the first time where I was like, oh, cool. You actually did a member berry worth some shit. When you showed us the three-hand guy and he's got three legs, and I'm like, oh, I know this guy. This is from, he was a helmsman on the Enterprise on TAS, or
Right.
his species was. And I was like, okay, you finally got a member berry actually worth shit. And then they make him out to seem like he's uh what's the word I'm like, Hannibal Lecter or Joseph Mingula, for God's sakes.
Right. Yeah. And that was another weird thing, was that like after the whole mutiny thing, and they were gonna throw them out the airlock, but they were on the surface, and then the guy comes out and he's like, oh yeah, maybe next time we'll have some brighter lights and happier colors, and yeah, oh, don't worry, that's just how I laugh. Like, it was dumb. It was just
Yeah.
dumb. Like, yeah, it was exposition that it was exposition that basically made the entire plot pointless, because the plot was, they thought they weren't going there. They thought that they were stuck on that ship as prisoners, when in all actuality they were just going to where they said they were going.
And it took a little while to get there. I mean, we are
Yeah, it
talking
just
about
took a
the
while.
Federation, and the Federation is kind of big. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it takes months to get from one section to the other. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And it's like,
TNG would do that too, where it was like, okay, like it's at warp 9, it's going to take weeks to get there, which shows you how vast the galaxy is. At least the Alpha Quadrant,
yes.
Alpha and Beta Quadrant. So I wish they would have. I wish they would have added. I don't know. Like, I wish they would have done something better. Just written it better. Um,
Notice, by
the
the way, they all get to go to that freaking paradise vacation spot after they just tried to attempt murder.
yeah, yeah.
And that just got washed away. They were like, oh, yeah, oh, it's okay.
Well,
Sorry
I mean,
about the
yeah.
mutiny. Sorry about the almost murdering you, but, hey, it's all good. Like, this is not how Star Trek works.
No, no. And like, a lot of it just feels predictable now. Like, I feel like
Yes.
I feel like I've figured out the formula that they have. Like I explained, there's three things that they think they think are funny. They think that member berries are funny. They think that chaos is funny, and they think that incompetence and rewarding incompetence is funny.
I also think they are abusing the technobabble.
A little bit, yeah. Um, they are, because I mean, a lot of a lot of what you see them do, I think, could be automated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of the little the grunt work I see them do, I feel like they would have had that like an automate. They would have had that automated by the 24th century.
Well, I mean, let's think about it. When a Miranda class first came into service, you had about 200 people on the ship. By the time you get to TNG area or DS9 area, there's only about 40 or 50 people on the ship. So they learned how to obviously upgrade and automate.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
particular, yeah, exactly. And I mean, the Cerritos can't be much bigger than a Miranda class.
No, yeah. It seems like a smaller ship. Yeah. Um, probably about as big as the Macarena.
Possibly.
Yeah. Or I can't remember. I actually can't remember the real name for that ship that they used in Picard. I just call it the Macarena. Um,
Oh God, I can't even remember the name of that ship. I mean, it was so funny. I think you even shot tweets out. You're like, does anybody remember the name of the ship? Because I sure as hell don't.
I don't
Uh,
remember.
I mean, unlike the Expanse, by the time I got done with it, I'm like, I know what the Rocinante is.
Right.
And
I still have to watch The Expanse. I'm in the middle of watching The 100 right now, and I think The Expanse is.
oh, you're watching the 100?
Yeah, I'm on the fourth season.
Oh, dude, my wife and I are waiting on these last two episodes.
Yeah, I'm like, they're good stories. Like, I don't normally like
CW.
post-apocalyptic CW post-apocalyptic type of stuff, but for some reason I think the space aspect of it at first like got me hooked into it. And then I liked some of the characters, and I'm not into the Clark character too much. It feels like she gets herself into a lot of situations where, like, where, like, if she didn't get herself in this situation, like, things would have been better.
Oh boy, wait do you see what happens with Octavia?
So I thought they killed her in one of these episodes. Uh, she gets stabbed and she falls off a cliff. And as soon as that happened, I shut off the stream, and I stopped watching it for a week. And then somebody kind of hinted to me, like, oh, she might not be dead. And so I watched the rest of the episode, and she lives by the end of the episode. She's one of my favorite characters, but that was the first time I called bullshit. You cannot fall off a cliff like that and not only survive, but not, like, have any permanent damage to your body, no broken bones, you're not paralyzed.
Oh
So I
yeah,
kind of.
every show's going to have some creative licensing, but at least the
Yeah.
100's writers have done something good. Whereas what we're talking about, I think the 100, and we'll close it out with this right before we end it. The 100 actually shows you really strong male and female characters,
Yes.
flaws and all, and
Yes.
not everybody's going to be perfect, but they're trying their damnedest. Whereas,
Yes.
and there are consequences to those actions. Whereas, and we
I feel
saw
I
that in
feel so
Star
bad for
Trek.
Raven. I keep seeing Raven.
Oh,
All
Raven.
the shit all the shit she goes through, I'm like, man, just leave her alone. Give her a
Oh,
break.
oh my God, Jack. My wife even said one time, she goes, "Man, Raven can't get a fucking break."
No, she can't.
I'm gonna
Like,
tell you who my
yeah.
favorite character is. Murphy.
Murphy's a good character.
He gets
Is he
better.
the is he the one that
He's the
by the
one they
fourth
call a
season?
cockroach. He's the one
Okay,
they call a cockroach.
good. Okay, yeah, he's the one with the girlfriend with the hand, right?
Yes.
Okay, he's good. He's a good character.
Yeah,
I like at first I was like he's an asshole because he like killed people at first, but then like his character got better.
well, I love one part where he said it to her too. He's talking to
Mhm.
Amora. That's the one with the hand. And he
Right.
goes, and he says, I killed some people. I tried to kill a few more. I had my reasons, but whatever. And I'm like, that's so Murphy. I
That's
loved it.
basically Murphy. My favorite characters were Lincoln and Octavia. Lincoln's gone
Yes.
now, of course,
Yes.
but I loved Lincoln's character.
His
You know,
legacy of what he did for Octavia lives on.
uh huh.
Lives on throughout the
Okay,
series.
yeah, and like I liked her character development from where she was like she started off as like this bratty girl, who just liked to party and shit. To now she's like this, she's a warrior. They're about the episode that I'm on. They're about to like all fight in the city so that they
Yeah.
can take over the bunker. And so she's one of the fighters, and I'm like, okay, like they're not going to kill
Oh,
her
you're
off.
gonna love
Just
it.
after
You're gonna love it. You're gonna
I
love
don't
it.
think I don't think they're going to kill her off just yet. She didn't survive a fucking falling off a cliff just for nothing. So
You're gonna love it. Okay, we got way off topic here, but
we
dude,
did, yeah.
Jack, we got to get together sometime. Get my wife, Madam Geek, in here and talk 100 because
Okay.
I love it. And we absolutely love that show. But with that being said, folks, this is our review. Quarks Bar, LDS. By the way, Jack, did you know this? They actually use LDS as the official title. And here I
Yes.
thought I just made it as a joke.
Well, I keep saying LSD because I think you have to be on LSD to actually like the show.
Well, I stuck with LDS obviously because Star Trek 4, which I
Right.
think is also where they said they got the
Which
idea
is
from.
good.
I'm like,
It is a good reference.
it is a good reference. It's just ridiculously not funny, not humorous. I don't know
The
how it
show
can be
it sucks. Yeah,
canon, but
it's not funny. I don't know how it's canon either. Hopefully they just come out and say, yeah, this because it's so ridiculous. This isn't canon. This is just its own thing. I could definitely get behind it more. I keep saying that if you admit that it's not part of the Trek universe, it's your own thing. It's easier for me to get behind because I don't have to be so nitpicky. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
but the problem is they're making it too easy for us with all these stupid member berries they keep shoving at us.
Yeah,
But
and when they do it wrong, then we always catch them.
oh yeah, we always catch them. But I will say this: the one thing I did like about this episode was I did like the callback to Star Trek: The Animated Series. I did
Right.
like that. I thought that was kind of cool. That was
You,
about
you
the
know,
only thing.
I was intrigued by the man with the duck bill in the back. He had a duck bill. He didn't say anything. He
Yeah,
didn't do anything, but he had a duck bill. I don't know. For some reason, I wanted to know more about that guy.
it's funny. I thought the same thing. I was like, I want to know this guy's story for some reason.
Like,
I don't
how
know
did he
why.
get
It
that
just
duck
looked
bill?
interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right, Jack, it's been great talking to you.
Same.
It's been fun as always. Monday doing the Avengers. I know we didn't do it last week because I got sick. I think my immune system is getting shot to hell, but I'm better
I was
now. So
I was at a Halloween store earlier today, and I saw a Captain America shield, and I almost bought it just to like bring it on Monday, but I didn't.
that wouldn't have been a bad idea. Cool beans. All
Yeah,
right, everyone.
I
Have a
like
good.
showing shit off, right?
Yeah. Do you see Jamahara?
Not from you, buddy.
Yeah, definitely not for me. No, definitely not for me. All right. Have a good one. I'm going to throw the outro up. I hope
right.
everybody who views this later enjoys it. I know I did. I always enjoy it. Jack is always a fun guy to have on every time. Thank you, man, for being here. To everyone, live long and prosper.